ladies, this is Trisha Petito with the Scrappin' Buddies, and we are going to work on these lovely cards today. This was a kit that I designed for the Beach Getaway Weekend 2022. So if you were one of the lucky ones to get one of these kits, congratulations. Scrappy's gift has been something that some of the ladies have enjoyed getting, and I hope you got one. If not, and you're joining in with us, feel free to grab some of your own stamp sets and items at home, because these cards would be beautifully duplicated in your own way, and you can learn some new tips and tricks, hopefully, from my tutorial. We utilize a stencil kit to create some beautiful cards here. These are Slimline cards, so they can be duplicated in many different ways, and I'd love to see what you create with your items at home. So when you are done, I would love to see them. Please post some pictures and show me what you create. So let's get going. Okay, this is the first card that we're going to make in our kit. If you want to go ahead and get your sunburst stencil out, this is what it's going to look like. It's a nice thick acetate type stencil. And this is the stamp set that we're going to be utilizing. This is actually a stamp of the month from a month or two ago. It's called Voice of the Sea S2207. And on this card we're going to be using the seagull. You're going to get some shimmer pens out, a couple inks, and these brand new blending brushes that we just started selling. We're going to show you how those work. Absolutely love them. And we're going to be using Slimline cards because these particular stencils fit Slimline cards. These are just like business style envelopes and business style, if you would, bases and envelopes. We do sell them in packs with Close to My Heart, and I love them. Just different than the standard A2 style. So I'm going to go ahead and put some paper underneath what I'm working on, so that way I don't get my mat all dirty. I have a funny feeling I'm going to get ink everywhere, and I don't want it to get on the back of my card or on my mat. So I'm just kind of putting extra paper down everywhere, so if I spill over, it doesn't get on my mat. So I'm just getting everything lined up. You could use some tape to hold your stencil down. I didn't take the extra time to do that, but if you're nervous about your stencil moving, you could put a piece of tape down on this washi tape or anything similar. So we're going to use a Sundance ink. This is like a burnt orange color. And let's grab one of those brand new blending brushes. So these have been very popular brushes recently in those who stamp. They have very fine bristles on them, and they allow you to take whatever ink you're using and blend them super easily. So this is just standard water-based inks that I'm using from Close to My Heart. And as you can see, I'm blending them beautifully, where I'm putting a lot of pressure initially with my ink, and then just letting up lightly as I'm going further out on the ray, so I can have that beautiful sun look on my paper. And then just making sure it's blending nicely. I can put as much ink or as little ink as I want down on this paper and blend it in, and I love that about these brushes. They are beautiful. Now these brushes, I had purchased these right before Close to My Heart had started selling them. So if you were to purchase them from Close to My Heart, they do have a black handle, not the green that you're seeing in my video, but they are identical. These are very, very awesome brushes. Like I said, these blending brushes, and they do come in packs of 3. They can be washed, and every time you use a different color, I do suggest you could get several different brushes and just designate them for a color. Like this particular brush is now going to be Sundance, and I'll just have a bunch of different brushes for the different colors, and have them in a storage case. So that way when you need that color, you just get that brush out, or you can wash them whichever way you prefer. They do hold up very nicely. And there we go. There is our sun ray for the base of our card. Okay, we're going to get some shimmer pens out. I initially was going to use gold, but I decided eventually I was going to do Sundance instead. It is the same color as the ink that we use, but as you can see, it's very concentrated, so it's actually a brighter, looks brighter anyways. It also has the shimmer to it. These are called shimmer pens. So I filled up the tip to make sure the tip of my pen had a lot of ink, and now I'm just kind of very lightly tapping the pen so drops of the ink come out over my paper. I do this technique a lot. I didn't want a lot on my paper. I just wanted a little bit so I had that little spotted look. So I just did it randomly here and there until I was happy with what I had. And I thought that would look nice like sunbursts coming out of the sky. And there we go. You do want to set this aside so it dries. But once it dries, you'll have not only the ink color, but also the shimmer. Love shimmer pens. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and stamp our, oh, first we got to do our background. Sorry about that, forgot about the background. So I used this thin cut, it's just a circle, plain old thin cut, and the Lagoon ink. I got myself a different blending brush. It's not the same one I used earlier because it had Sundance on it. So I grabbed a different one, and we are doing Lagoon. And once again, I'm blending it in. As you see, I'm starting outside the circle and working my way in and just blending that color in as much or as little as I want. I actually did this several times on different circles and played around until I got a feeling for how I wanted it. So play around, practice until you know how you want yours. I ended up picking a circle that had a lot of Lagoon on the outside and it was almost white on the inside. So I had that nice background for my seagull to sit on. There you go, and there's the Lagoon. So we're gonna have like almost like a sunset look for the seagull to be in front of. And let's get some white paper and we are going to stamp our seagull. I actually want you to stamp him twice on here. I'm only going to show you once, but you definitely want to do them twice so that we have enough of the little pieces of wood. Remember, I'm showing you how to do seasoning. If this is the first time you're using your stamp, you want to place it on your block and season it either by stamping several times and cleaning it, and then or doing what I did and doing it on the back of your hand or your arm. The ink I'm using is the Intense Black, like I just showed. This is solvent based instead of water based, and we're doing that because we're going to be coloring this seagull later, and we don't want our inks to blend when we're coloring it with markers. So there's my one seagull. Go ahead and do him one more time so you have two sets of that, please. We will cut him out and color him later. And we're going to go ahead and glue that circle in the middle and then cut off the excess. Just take your scissors and cut them off. I went ahead and colored up my seagull, very simple and plain. It doesn't take much because seagulls don't have color. And then that other stamp was just so you had two pieces of wood instead of just one. If you're wondering, these are the TriBlend markers I used: brown gray blend, earth brown blend, and my gold brown blend. Those are the three colors. I played around with them. That's how we did the seagull and the little pieces of wood. And then I took my 3D foam tape and placed it on the back of the seagull because I wanted him to have like a 3D look, and pop him up. And then those two little pieces of wood, I put them directly onto the card so that they were not popped up. So we'll get them on there. And I put them all the way down to the bottom of the card. I did not give them a gap, so it looks like they're in line or coming out of the bottom of the card, if you would. I put him right in the middle, so he's the center of attention. And then I glued the two pieces of wood, the other pillars, if you would, next to him on the card. And last but not least, is the correct way to say it, I put some sparkles on there to add in next to my shimmer dots, and there we go. There is our seagull card. I hope you were able to follow along with this tutorial and you were able to create a beautiful masterpiece for yourself. Please post the photos. I would love to see. Okay, moving on to our second card. If you want to go ahead and start getting your items out, we are going to be using this stencil from our kit. It has almost like a flowery circle design on it. Thought it was very pretty. And I don't know why it made me think of a turtle, and the stamp set has this turtle, and I liked the saying for the turtle, good vibes, sending good vibes your way. We're going to use linen inks, and then those are your papers in your kit. So let's go ahead and get everything ready so that we can stamp the base of this card, get everything all masked off and ready to be inked up like we did earlier. Since we did this before, I'm kind of like just re-putting all my paper down and ready to go, so it's easy for us to not get our paper everywhere, or ink on our paper, not getting our ink on the mat. The linen ink is a very, very light, so, and I did that on purpose. I wanted to be able to see it, but it not stand out too much and take away from the rest of the card. So I just kind of slowly went around and very lightly put this beautiful design in the background of the card. It's not to be a focal point, but an addition to the beautiful card and everything else we're doing with it. And I just slowly went around and made sure I got ink in all the little areas. This is a very busy stencil. I can just imagine all the fun things you ladies will be doing with the stencil. Once again, because of the nature of this particular brush, this blending brush with the fine bristles, it allows you to get into little tiny areas. So with these stencils, it's so easy. And if you do what I just did and whack your stencil and it moves it, it's very easy. Just line it right back up where you had it, and then keep on going. If that just scares you to death by moving your stencil, then I would highly recommend putting a little piece of masking tape down, or washi tape, something to hold it down so it doesn't move on you. There we go. Look how nice that looks. So I just picked that linen color, which is a light gray color, just enough to see it, but doesn't distract away from the rest of what we're going to do for our card. So it's going to be a pretty background. Okay, so we're going to place these pieces of paper down. There are actually only 3 different colors here: the green, the lighter blue, and even the lighter blue. These are 3 new colors in our new catalog that they just came out with. This first color um, you will see is actually pine. It's the darkest of the colors. I gave you 2 strips. And the reason why I did that is because our cardstock is two-sided. The one side is darker and the other side is lighter. The darker side is actually the true color, and the other side being slightly lighter is just to give you a variation. So what I did is I put the dark side down first, and then I checked and made sure the other side, the lighter side, was up second. So when you put it on the card, it looks like you're using 2 different color papers, but it's actually it's actually only one color paper. So that is pine that I just put down, the dark side and then the light side. The next color that you're going to be putting down is another new color for 2022, and that is Mist. I'm going to do the dark side first, and then we're going to do the light side next. And this is once again a new color called Mist. And then the last new color here for this strip is Seabrook. I'm going to do the dark side first, and then we'll do the light side. So once again, all I did was 3 different colors of paper, but because I utilized both sides of the paper, we got 6 different variations. That is one thing that's really nice about the Close to My Heart paper, is that we have options using the dark side and the light side. Just be aware that our cardstock is like that. Sometimes it can get you in trouble, but as you can see in a card like this, it is a beautiful option. So I also gave you a little piece of this glitter paper. It's just a very pretty white, and I felt like it pulls out the prettiness of the linen color we already put down. And we're just going to finish those colors off with a strip of the glitter, just as an extra added flair. Okay, let's get our base ready to do some stamping. It's going to go right about there. And you're going to glue your white on top of the gray. And I want you to put it all the way to the one side so you have a little border all around, but the one end is going to be a little bigger. And then take this other color. This is another new color called Honey Butter. And you're going to do dark and then light. And I actually started putting it down on the wrong side, so hopefully, yep, that's the way we want it. So you actually want it on the side, this side, where we're going to banner the end of it. If you started putting it down on the other side and you didn't see me correct myself, it's okay. It won't make too much of a difference. You can turn your banner the other way if you would like. I've done it both ways and it looks pretty either way. So once again, I did dark and then light, so you can see both sides of this new color, Honey Butter. So this card actually has 4 brand new colors on it for the 2022-2023 catalog. So I bannered the end of this for some visual appeal. The way I do my banners is I find the middle with my eyeball. This is very technical. Then I go from one corner to the middle, and then the other corner to the middle again. If you are a folder, you could do the little fold and then cut from there. That's just the way I do it. There's several different ways you can do the banner. That's just how I do it. And we're going to glue that down there, but just not yet. We want to do our stamping. Once again, using intense black so we can color it. And we're going to get our little turtle ready to go. I'm actually using this white piece of paper 2 different ways. I'm making sure that I don't get any ink at the top of my paper because the stamp set is just a tad bit bigger than my piece. So I'm watching the bottom, stamping it to the bottom of the white, but the top is going to hang over. So I'm using that other piece of paper as a guard so the excess goes onto that white piece of paper and not onto, see how I did that? So it comes off and it's just on the white part. Okay. Then I'm going to have you stamp that turtle one more time. There we go. So after I colored it, this is what it looks like. I actually colored a little bit on the banner and a little bit of the turtle. Jade green shades. Citrus green blend. These are all TriBlend markers again. Sorry, sometimes the camera doesn't want to focus. Coral blend. Vintage blue blend. And brown gray blend. Those are the colors I used on this. I colored the coral and the rocks, and then I did the turtle separately and then trimmed him up. And then I took my sentiment and rosemary inks. I felt like this was a nice color that kind of matched our new colors on our paper, but it wasn't exactly the same color. I thought just it blended all the things together nicely. And we just stamped that right there in the middle. Now you're probably wondering, why in the world did you do that turtle the way you did it? Well, it's because I wanted him to be popped up. I wanted him to have some 3D dimension, kind of like we did on the previous card with the seagull. So that's why I stamped him a second time and colored him separately so I could pop him right up and gave him a little dimension, almost like he's flying right off the card. And there we go. That's our finished card with our turtle popped up. I hope your card looks as beautiful or better than mine. I'd love to see it. Please make sure you post a photo. And last but not least, our third and final card. I purposely saved this one for last. It is a little bit more challenging. So we're going to be using this stamp set called Palm Fronds in 3 separate colors. If you want to go ahead and get those out. And one last blending brush. If you haven't fallen in love with these brushes, I don't know, something's just not right. They're amazing. And one last stencil. Love this stencil pack that we played with. So let's get our card base ready and all of our little pieces of paper. So we're actually going to do the stamping first and then build everything afterwards. This is the stamp set we're going to be using, and this particular leaf is the first one we're going to be playing with. So if you want to get that one out. And what we're doing initially is New England Ivy and Avocado. So go ahead and get that stamp ready and place it on your block. Make sure you season it. I do it on the back of my hand or my arm. Once again, that's just to get the extra stickiness off, so that way you get a nice clear imaging. If you've already used your stamp set, you don't have to do that. Some people insist on doing it every single time. I really don't feel like that's necessary. That's up to you. And then get some good ink on here. I always tell my ladies, dot dot, rub rub, dot dot, rub rub. But just look through the block, that's why it's clear. We're going to do first generation stamping. And then do not ink it again. I look like I'm about to, but I don't. And then go back in and do a second generation stamping. So that's what it looks like if you don't re-ink it. It's dark for first generation and then a little bit lighter for the second generation. That is a technique that we're going to use a couple times on this stamp set, okay? And then go ahead and get your New England Ivy, and we're going to use the next part of this. We're going to get the long skinny leaf. So this one over here, you can use the other one if you would like. Actually, you could use any of them that you like if you prefer to do a different leaf. Once again, I'm going to season it up, get it ready to go. This one we're actually going to do first, second, and third generation. And get our inks ready to go. I'm going to check it looking through my block. So here we go, first generation. Second generation, I did not re-ink. And then third generation, I decided just to go a little in there. Perfect. Very hard to see in the camera, but it's there and it looks really nice on the card. So let's do it again. Can you see it? First, second, third. Let's do it again. We can get a whole nother look just by rotating the stamp and turning it the other way. First generation. And without re-inking it, second generation. And we're just going to end it right there. Oh, I love it. Okay, now we're going to take Harbour, and this is where the fun is going to begin with our blending brush, and we're going to grab our stencil and maybe just a couple pieces of white paper so we can mask off the areas we're not going to use. So I saved this card for last because this particular card, there's really no right or wrong to how you do this. This is what you want to do and how you want it to look. So what I'm doing is I'm masking off a little bit of what I've already stamped, and I'm going to use my blending brush with my stencil, and that little tiny, if you would, piece that's left over in the middle, I'm going to ink it up with my Harbour ink and put that design in the middle or around, if you would, all of those leaves. So it looks like we have a layered situation going on here, like that, okay? We're going to do this a couple more times. You can do it as little or as much as you want. And it's going to be playing around with it to see what you like, what you don't like. You'll see I kind of put my papers to show what I wanted, what I didn't want. This is almost like peekaboos on the top and the bottom, so it's there, it's just maybe not a whole lot. I barely put any up here, just enough to show it was there. Awesome. I might have been a little crooked, but I don't think you'll be able to tell when I'm done. And then we're going to do some over here on the side. So I realized once I did that, I didn't feel like it was as much as I wanted. I wanted it to be a little bit more. I wanted it to blend a little bit better with my leaves. Like I felt like it was too abrupt of a line by my leaves. I wanted it to look like it was blending in with my leaves better. So I just kept on playing around with my masking and trying to make it so it looked right in my eyes. Now, every time I lifted up my stencil, I just had to make sure when I put it back down that it was in line with the last time I did it, so I didn't mess up the stencil look. But I just kept on playing around with it until I really liked it. It looked like the stencil was coming up from behind the leaves. And then I realized, I was like, well, I think I'll have a better option with these side ones if I don't use the masking like I did before, and just be just gentle with my ink. And there we go. I really like that. I'm going to fix this over here just a tad bit more. And you play around with this and make it the way you want it to make it look. Remembering it's your masterpiece. It doesn't have to look just like mine. As you can see, I just kept on messing with it until I got it the way I liked it. Perfect. So it just gives, it looks like a big messy mess that we're just going to add to. Now we're going to work on the embellishments we're going to put on here. I went ahead and did a couple thin cuts for you. So let's get those stamped up. We're going to use this particular big leaf and your New England ivy, the one we already stamped on the card that we started off with. It really helps to get this lined up right if you want to stand up, look through your block, that way you have it nicely lined up. And then the other leaf is not one that we've used so far, so we need to get that off right there and put that on the block. And get that ready to go. Once again, season it up. Anything you haven't used yet, get it ready before you ink it. And we're going to be using the avocado on this one. Avocado ink. Look through your block. Make sure you line it all up before you stamp it. And that's going to be right there. I'm not gluing anything down yet, you'll see why. And then I gave you these two little pieces. It's actually the same color, Sundance, but what I did is when I used the thin cut, which happens to be this thin cut, these two pieces. I love this thin cut set. It's all different size flowers, layered flowers. These were the two that I used. I used the Sundance color again, and I just did the one on the light side of the paper and the one on the dark side of the paper. So that way you have the two different colors. It looks like we used two different papers. It's not, it's just the light and the dark side of Sundance. So we're going to go ahead and glue these two pieces together. Okay, so we're going to use some 3D foam tape. And put the 3D foam tape all over the back of the big leaf. So just some nice big pieces of 3D foam. Just put them right here on the back. I kind of angled it just a little bit. That pops that middle leaf up just enough, give it some interest. This leaf is going to overlap, so I only need a little tiny piece of 3D foam on the one side or the left side, the part that's not overlapping the right side. So that way the left side of the leaf is just as high as the other leaf. That way both leaves are the same height. And then we have our sentiment, and I had stamped hello on it. You could use any little tiny sentiment. I decided hello was cute. Once again, you only need a little bit of 3D foam on the one side because it's going to be overlapping those other two, and we don't want it to be lopsided. So we're going to put it on the side that's not overlapping those green leaves. Just trying to get my placement here how I want it. That hello was from the stamp of the month we used earlier with the turtle and the seagull, in case you're wondering where I found hello from. And then our flower, I'm just going to pull up the leaves a little bit. You can make it a little bit more dimensional and put some glue right there in the middle, and there is our flower. And then I gave you a little teeny tiny acrylic white flower. I just put some glue on it, and we're going to put that right there in the middle, and then figure out exactly where we want it and give it a nice push down. Make sure it's where we want it and push it down. Make sure we're happy with how that looks. There we go, with some 3D foam and some pretty flowers. So let's just build it on our card now. Simple and easy. It goes on our base. Hard part is done. So what we already worked on goes on the designed paper. I used this design paper because I really like that mint color, and I figured a little bit of the design would peek out for some interest. And then we took that Harbour color, which was the same color that we did the stenciling with, and I did that as the very background color, just enough to see it and have that visual interest. And there we go. And we're going to glue, now that bottom piece is the exact same size as the card. So we're going to make sure that we have a good amount of glue on here and line it up so that way it fits on our card base perfectly. So we did all the hard work and then just assembled it at the end. And the reason being is because there was so much stamping on this particular card. You know, once it's all down, I'm just evening out the glue, make sure everything is glued down like it should. And there we go. That is the finished card with some dimension. It's beautiful. I love it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you were able to do some of these beautiful cards with me. Please show me what you created and post in our group room. Thank you for following along. I enjoyed crafting with you today.